Hey, Ange.
Hey Les, how are you?
Wow, that was vibrant. As vibrant as your hair, your look, your colors. I see you're
This
copying my print.
this is called
So
dopamine wigging. You know, people have dopamine dressing. This is dopamine wigging.
I've never heard either term, but I know dopamine.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
Welcome to another episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Listen, when outside of this context, when we talk about like where you from or whatever, and whenever I say Brooklyn, I want to say Brooklyn. They'll think I'm nuts.
I'm such
So
an
I don't
infant.
say it, but I think it.
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember where that came from.
I don't even know, but it had to be in season
I
one.
did it one time or twice, and you insisted that I kept doing it. And
Uh-huh. It's your signature. It's our signature hello. Hey, Ange.
hey,
Yeah, that's what we do. Our
hey,
public wants to know.
yeah, our public. Why do you keep saying no? Like
I love saying that. Like we have a public.
there's a group that has a title that says our public and they want to know and we will tell
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you.
So
Hilarious.
I want to talk to you about something. And I think I want to ask you to be like my analyst for this session. First
Oh,
time ever.
not true, not true. Yeah, first time ever
First
that you
time you've ever been my analyst. So
go.
it started with a conversation I had with a friend of mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think out of the blue, I just asked him, like, do you have a bucket list? No, actually, I said, what's on your bucket list?
Okay.
And he said, I don't have a bucket list. And I said, what?
Was this off the cuff or did he think about it or like describe?
Let me think of the conversation. He thought about it and he
Okay.
said, I don't have a bucket list.
Okay.
And I said, what? What do you mean, okay? He
Well,
said, I don't have a bucket list. And I
I,
said, what do you mean? You don't have a bucket list? He said, no. I
mm,
said, doesn't everybody have a bucket list? I said, I have a bucket list. I
mm,
said, I can look at my bucket list right now. I said, it's right next to my office
right.
it's in my office on the wall, and it's numbered and it even has some things crossed off. So
Okay.
when I mentioned this, so I let it go, but I'm thinking like, what's going on with him? Like what does that mean?
Right, right.
And then when I mentioned it to you, you kind of turned me on a 180 saying like how I guess unstrange not having a bucket list is. And then what is it about me that makes feeling like having a bucket list such a necessity? We got to
Yeah.
talk about
So,
this a little bit
well,
because
so much of a necessity that you think people who don't have it
yes,
are a little off.
I'm going to
And
be kind and not use the word off.
well, I don't mean off like, ugh. I don't mean that kind of off. I just mean that they're missing something.
That's a good way.
Instead of,
Missing something strange.
listen, instead of, good, instead of having everything they need, you think they're missing something.
Hmm. But Ange, oh my gosh, now this is revealing and it's getting a little scary and
Hold
it's
on,
very
hold
revealing.
on, hold on.
But Ange, I never
Hear me?
thought
You can't hear me. Can you hear
I
me?
I hear you. I'm trying to ignore you because it's like what I'm thinking is just so profound. It's jumping out of my head. But go ahead, you say, because I got to calm my emotions down right now because
But
right now there's a lot swirling.
it's funny, you know exactly because I was going to say, hold on, that was profound. Don't just keep moving. But you knew it was. You
It was so profound that I'm like in my head, blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, so Ange,
yes.
when
Yeah.
you just said that perhaps a person doesn't have a bucket list because they're satisfied. And you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm never satisfied. Or
Mm,
maybe the concept of completion or satisfaction is a
yeah.
little foreign to me.
Yeah.
I oh, wait a minute now.
Hold up. Wait,
Getting a little
um,
warm.
wait, you're going to take off your jacket,
Take
Leslie.
off my jacket for this and lean in.
Yeah. Perspective, huh?
So
Perspective.
I got to tell you, this friend of mine is also, so I've known him a long time, and this
Mm,
is, he's always told me about how he's always seen me as a person who's very driven.
yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it takes someone who's satisfied to recognize someone who's always driven.
And wait a minute. I want to kind of reframe the
Oh,
I want to reframe the because the tone of it is there is um a right way and a wrong way in a few ways, right? Having a bucket list is the right way, not having one is the wrong way.
well, you
Not
know how I frame things black and white. Yeah.
in the other way is um, having contentment is right and not having contentment is wrong. So I want to kind of not talk about this in terms of it should be that and not this because
So
that's
you
not.
want to eliminate the binary.
I want to eliminate that completely, and I want to just say that everyone has different needs, right? And so it's not a matter of your something's wrong with your needs. Everybody has different needs. You know what I mean? It's like I was
Sure,
talking
sure, yeah.
today. Some people they want certainty and they seek that out, and when they have it, it's disruption is not cool with them. And that's what they want, and they work towards that. They build a life in that way, right? And
Yeah,
some people
yeah.
don't. They want change, they want flexibility, they want all the things, or they want the right way to do something, and so they're always kind of searching for the right, which is not a bad thing. Searching and seeking is not. I don't mean that in any kind of negative. So everybody is different. You know what I mean? Now I don't know in terms of you know let's say friendship, um, whether or any kind of relationship, friendship or otherwise. Um, I don't know whether someone who desires um, um, sameness, routine, um, certainty is well paired. And as I said, I'm going to like tell you why this is not true. Is well paired with someone who wants something else.
Okay, so just remind me how this is ties into my feelings about a bucket list.
So a bucket list is a list of things that you want to achieve.
Hmm.
And I think on the extreme, once you've checked everything off, you add things to it.
Right, because I don't have an understanding that a bucket list can be completed per se.
Right.
But
Right.
okay, okay, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's always kind of this drive towards the next thing. Um, and
Yeah, sort
different.
of.
Well, once you check one thing off, you're going for the next thing, right?
That's on the list. But so there is, it's not an unlimited list.
I
It's a
get that.
list of, let's say, 12 items,
Hmm.
three of which right now are checked off. So I'm running out of time.
Right.
I'm running out of time. So three of those things are checked off of this list of 12.
Right.
But what he was saying to me is that he does not have a list. He does not have a list of nine more things that he wants to do before he's gone.
Right.
And are
Yeah.
you saying that it's because his list in his head is already complete? He's already satisfied. There's not more that he needs to achieve before he dies, let's say,
I don't
you
think it's a
know?
yeah, I don't think it's a matter of achievement or lack of achievement or so on, right? Because you can there's a difference between yearning for something, right? Having a drive for something
Mm-hmm.
and not and 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 if that thing is presented to you, you would do it. But you don't feel this like I have to do it. I have to do it by this time. I have to do this so I can move on to the next thing. It doesn't mean that they're okay with staying in the house and and never taking a trip or never buying another house or never getting an
Right. It's
or
just that that's not something that he's or anyone is driven to.
right. They're not, it's not their motivation to look at life that way, right? Maybe they have achieved everything that they could have ever imagined.
So there's
And
no more need to imagine more.
well, what okay.
I
So
mean, but
one of
and that's
one
okay.
of
I mean, people can
I hear,
appreciate more if they get it, but
yeah, I hear you. Let me ask the question this way. Um, isn't peace a good thing?
Mm.
Don't you get peace from when you check off the things on the list? You get peace from having a list. It's like, yeah, man, this is going to be great. Other people get peace and other things. It doesn't mean that you don't want peace. And, you know, it doesn't mean that you do not want peace just because you are achieving it in one way and someone else is achieving it in a different way.
Sure, I understand that. I get
But
that.
they found it in that way. And maybe we should say, good for you. That's not my journey.
Good for you.
Amazing. Let's talk about the things that you have accomplished that you're really happy about.
Or even better, let's talk about with anybody the reason why you don't feel a need to have a bucket list.
Right.
What does satisfaction look like for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And now that I think about it, more people probably, especially in our age group, more people probably do not have bucket lists rather
Right.
than do have bucket lists. And
Right.
my ring light just went out.
Oh,
You
man, I think
know,
you had about five of them.
I tell you, they just don't.
Should have taken I have an extra one here when you came down.
Uh, I think what it is maybe I'm not even going to talk about a ring light right now. Do I have enough light? You see my light?
Yeah.
You see my
Yeah.
light?
You look fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
All right. See the
Hmm.
light.
I
All
see the
right.
light.
I think I'm going to ask you to think about this now, or I'm going to put your brain to work. Now, what you know about my instinctive drive, my
Hmm.
ID,
Hmm.
what does my lifelong need for a bucket list? What does that really say about who I am or my personality? That puts you
Well,
on.
based on your ID,
Or not
Um,
even base. I mean, you've known me for a half a
yeah,
century almost.
and you totally have your ID. So
And
I can say
what?
you totally your ID is really defines you. So I'm talking about it even when I'm not talking about it because this is how you're wired.
Mm, hmm.
Your drive is to seek out the best right way of doing things. That's one
Hmm.
of your drives.
That's true.
Yes. And so
I'm fixing my ear thing here.
and so I think that not that you have a bucket list, but the way you responded to not having one
Yeah.
is, oh, but this is the right way, right? And if this is the right way, then that couldn't be the right way.
It wasn't that strong. It
I
it
know, but
wasn't that strong, but it stirred up a little strangeness, I should say.
yeah, okay, so let's use the word strange. Okay. I mean, the my point is the same in that there was some dissonance for you
Yeah, for sure.
around someone who could be okay in life without having that. But again,
Hmm.
they have different motivations, right?
Sure.
If if their motivation was more around harmony, right? And they have found that place.
Right. If they're there already. Yeah.
Yeah, everything is
Yeah. What more do you need?
yeah, and so they are satisfied, and their work is in maintaining that.
Right, right. And if I recall some other conversations over the years or whenever, I think that that's probably very accurate, because he said, he's retired and he's not looking for, he's comfortable and this and
Right.
but for me, I even think I'm not retired now, of course, but
Mm.
I even think I'm still going to be looking to check off that list
Yeah,
in my retirement.
yeah,
There's more.
yeah, and both of those are,
Ah,
and I'm going to point out two instances, both of them you know about. One of them where people who are wired differently did not work, and one of them where people who are wired differently absolutely works, right? So my first ex-husband, right? You know that he probably saw me in the same way that you are seeing your friend, but in a really mean way, right?
mm,
Because when we bought our first house, it was a mini mansion. We built it. We bought the land, we built the house, we saved, we put down a good chunk of change on it, and we moved into this amazing new home. And maybe the second day we were there, and it was a climb to get there. We were very diligent about putting away a certain amount of money and
mhm.
so on. Um, and so the climb to get there, and we're here now. And I'm like, okay, we can coast for a little bit. And he's like, okay, when are we getting the one in Florida? It was not more than a day after. And he saw me, this person. At that point, I had more degrees than him, and I wasn't yet making as much as he was. I did exceed him after a while, but he saw me as lacking ambition
Mm.
because I
Because
because
on day two, you did not want to strive for the Florida
right,
home, the second
right.
home.
I was pregnant. I'm into nesting now. I was probably 7, 8 months, 8 months pregnant. Um, and I'm in the nesting mode. And he saw that as someone who lacked ambition,
Yeah.
which was just so like, what? Me? What? What are you talking about?
So he
But
misunderstood.
well, he understood it the way he had a script about that, and that's how that's what at to an extreme it was. If you don't want this, then there's something wrong with you,
I see what you're, yeah, I see
right?
what you're saying.
Now,
Okay.
take you and I, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you and I are wired very differently, right? I don't have a bucket list. There are things that I want to achieve, but I don't feel the need to write them down. I'm not numbering them. I'm not.
Oh
There's no.
man.
There's none of that. And
No.
as a matter of fact, I admire people who do. I don't think it's weird that you do this. I'm like, if you're doing that, I don't have to do that. Do you know what I mean? Not in the bucket list situation, but my thing is, if you're good at that, well, I can be good at something else.
Well,
We
that's
both.
true because we're partnered. Right, right, right. So it's like if Leslie, in fact, you use the fact that I am into lists and bucket lists and stuff in order to, that works for us.
Works for us. It works for us.
Wow,
Do you,
that's a different way of framing. But in that conversation and this conversation with my friend, it was very brief.
yeah.
I guess because it set me into thinking, like, it may have been a 3-minute conversation,
Mhm.
oh, do you have a bucket list? No, what? You don't have a bucket list? I'm like,
Sure.
okay, all right, no bucket list for you, you know. And then and then the thought process came in later on, like, what is wrong with me, or why is it that, and then
Right.
I'm thinking like, oh, when in my conversations with this person over the years, he has said, "Oh, you're really driven." It's like, yeah,
Mhm.
you're never going to stop and this and that. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, Ange, what do you think
Yeah.
about folks without a bucket list? And you're like, ain't nothing wrong with that. That's normal.
For them.
It's
For them.
you with the bucket list that has the, whatever.
Yeah.
But it also made me think a little bit more broadly about, how Stephanie Perry has said, women, take off
Mhm.
the cape,
Mm.
take
Mhm.
off the cape.
Yeah.
We are not super people. We
Yeah.
don't have to be driven and checking off things. And let's start embracing again this life of ease
Yeah.
rather than I gotta do, I gotta do. So I know now that a lot of this checking off from the bucket list, whereas it has worked to bring satisfaction into my life,
Mm-hmm.
um, buying owning a convertible was
Mm-hmm.
on my list for years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Owning a convertible
Right.
was part of the list, and my convertibles bring me such satisfaction.
Right.
But yeah, I think a lot of it is the cape driven. It's like I have my superwoman cape, and these are the things that a superwoman must do.
Mm-hmm.
I think I
Mm-hmm.
need to reframe the way it looks. I don't think I'll be pulling it off the wall just yet, but
And
I think it might be due for at least, I appreciate that you had me step back and reevaluate the need for that list.
yeah, but Les, it's not quite what I want to do. That's not quite my intention. And let me just explain what I mean, right? My intention was not, hey, you ought not be that way. My intention was you can be that way and he can be that way, and they're both okay. So
Sure, I get it. I get it.
so if you are driven and if you want a bucket list, have a beautiful, nice, inspirational driven, aspirational list. It's a
Hmm.
beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I think where the cape comes in is where you are doing it for reasons outside of the drive that you personally have. When you're doing it to because it's a part of hustle culture and it's just, you just don't know how to get off, but you want to. When you're
Mm,
doing to because you are not ever satisfied with what's in your bank account. And so you want to have as much money squirreled away until you're 99 and ready to live, right?
right, right, right. When you start, yeah, when
Yeah,
I retire, then I'll start,
right.
yeah.
So I think it's why we are doing what we're doing that determines what the CAPE situation is versus
Hmm.
don't have drive because that means you're wearing a cape that you need to put down,
I see the
right?
difference. Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean, you. My observation is that you have both because you are you take on a lot, and I think some of what you take on is not because you it's satisfying a need that you have. You do it because out of obligation, out of just okay, I want to get this thing, so I'm gonna do extra work to get it versus okay, let me tap into what I put aside to do it. Do you know what I mean? Those types of things. So I think you do have a cape, as do I, but I don't think having a list, your bucket list, is necessarily a cape wearing thing that you ought to stop.
I get it. I
Not me,
get it. Good. Now, me, I
not
get
me.
it. I
Yeah,
like it. I like the distinction.
yeah. You know, and and you see, you kind of that's another part about your drive. You're ready to write the thing.
It's like, okay, if this is wrong,
Right.
I'll fix it. I'll fix it. I got this. Oh my gosh, Ange, what's
Okay.
wrong with me?
Are we done?
No.
Can I talk about my beautiful way?
Oh, yes, you can.
So you guys may not know, but I am a wig maker. I'm doing it less now than I used to do it, but I do have many wigs that I wear as a part of, an accessory. I love it. I love the kind of when I said dopamine dressing before, Leslie's never heard that
Yes.
term. But it's when you choose because you want to boost, you choose clothing that brings you joy, brings you energy,
Mm.
and so they call it
Yeah. I've never heard the term, but I've done
yeah,
it all the time. People
yeah,
probably do it all the time. Let me
right.
tell you a funny time when I always did my dopamine dressing. When I
Mhm.
used in medical school, when I would take exams, I
Mm,
would do,
perfect.
even though I'm up all night long, I'm dopamine dressing for sitting for the exam because I don't want to walk out of there feeling too miserable.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So you want to be able to, I feel good about myself. I don't
Right,
know
right.
how I did on this anatomy test, but I still feel good about myself. So yeah. And what was
So,
the other dopamine term? Dopamine
well,
dressing and
I coined it. I coined it dopamine wigging.
oh, okay.
And so I had this big event today and I'm like, yeah, I want to show up like this.
Like
This.
this.
I didn't wear this, but this.
Mhm.
And um and so here you go. So if you guys who are watching us on YouTube, and those of you who are just listening to us, you may want to check out YouTube because you can see this wig that I'm wearing. And if you would like me to wear different wigs and just show you have, I'd be happy to. Or you want it to be like, I wonder what she's going to do today. If you want it to be if you want to see me doing a lot more wigging, just let me know. And
Dopamine wigging.
I will serve the people. I will serve our public.
Hey, and I could wear some of my wigs too. We're gonna make this like
Yes,
fun.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. If you can believe it, Leslie, all of that hair under the wigs that I make for her, and it's pretty, pretty incredible. Pretty incredible.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll say
And
that.
you want to bring us in for a landing?
I think so. Thank you for
Okay.
listening, and I would love to hear about your bucket lists. Or whether you have one, or whether you gave it up, or have you checked off everything on your list? Because I'm still working on mine. But this has been another episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
And I also want to add that Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn is produced by Angela Fraser. Our editing team is by Matt Dershowitz, and our media and copywriting and marketing team is from Couture Copywriting. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.